Hey guys, welcome back to another episode from I Don't Believe in Side Quests. I'm Gabe,
Woohoo! I'm Lauren.
and yeah, I don't know. Do we have a whole lot of catch up to do? I'm pretty
I
chilling.
don't know. We've been chatting a lot
That's
as we've
true.
been recording,
That's true. We have
so
been,
we've just seen each other a lot more often.
which is good.
How was your
Which is
weekend?
good. I missed you. So I might have a herniated disc in my back. So we'll see. We'll see.
This could be a drinking game of like every time we check in with you, like what's happening.
Mm-hmm. A drinking game. I
Um,
love that. Oh no.
I feel like I need a drink every time. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is happening? Um, nice.
Yeah.
I love that for you.
Thank you. I love that for me too. I
Hmm.
had a bit of a cry yesterday and I was like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to be my dad. I don't want to be 5 back surgeries deep and still in pain and can't wipe my butt and I was like, okay, I can chill. I would We're not quite there yet. But yeah.
How is that going to affect your work?
Um well, today I struggled a little with the cots, but uh
Mm-hmm.
my coworker stepped up to help. Um, I think she gets it. She was in a car crash and she had back issues after that. And like the main teacher kind of gets it because she had a lot of sciatica issues when she was pregnant. But
Mm.
yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what
Okay.
happens. I thought it was sciatica at first, and then I was like, this hurts in a way I've never hurt before, and I don't
Mm.
know about that one, Chief.
What happened? Like,
I don't know. I woke up okay, so my back had started to hurt worse than usual last week, but I thought it was just kind of strained because I've been working out and we did like a big
mm-hmm.
back and arm workout. And then Saturday I got
Mm.
out of bed. I was like, "Oh, something ain't right."
Hmm.
But
Oh
it
no.
wasn't bad, but I was like, "Okay, maybe it's just a sciatica." And then
Yeah.
by the end of Saturday, it was really bad. And at like 1 o'clock at night, I was debating if I should go wake up my dad to go to the ER because I was like, I don't know about this. I slept through, and then Sunday it didn't hurt quite like that, but I've
Hmm.
definitely been like round the clock taking my nerve pain medication, and I upped it.
Oh my gosh.
So I have a doctor's appointment next week, ironically, which I made to deal with my prescriptions and because I changed insurance and try and get my prescriptions shipped or not shipped, but like, changed to the
Mm-hmm.
new online pharmacy I have because I do, the mail order.
Sure, sure.
It's been yeah, it's been a thing. So what about you?
I've been good. One of our good friends was in town from India, and so we haven't seen him since pre-COVID. And so we've been pouncing around with him and played some board games with him and a couple of his friends. And Mike and I were on our way home from that, and we were like, excellent, because now we have reached the point in our adulthood where we've started collecting adult couple friends
Yeah,
who want to play board games, which is just very exciting for us.
that is. We have always had a family friend group that does that, like game nights and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's awesome. That's always so much fun.
Yeah. 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 Because he used to, or like all of his friends really love playing both video and board
Mm-hmm.
games, but we're a state away from all of them. So we always play a lot
Mm.
of board games when we go down to his place, but we don't have those same board game connections and friend groups
Yeah.
around up here. So
Oh,
we've started to find people kind of either friends or friends we haven't seen in a while. And um, yeah, started rebuilding those connections and finding those friendships so we can go and play board games and
that's
have all
awesome.
sorts of fun on that front.
That's
So,
awesome. I love that.
yes. Yes, adding them to the roster.
To the roster. That's funny. We're belatedly celebrating International Women's Day, like very, very belatedly.
It's still the same month.
That's true. Still the same month, but we wanted to honor women in the industry. So, developers, the players, the streamers.
Yeah, one of the main things in our podcast that we really wanted to spend time talking about, in addition to Nancy Drew, was talking about women in the industry. And so this is our first step really to get back into that. Um, and so quick hits, some stats of women in the industry. So percentage of players, there's so much debate on this. Like if you look up what percentage of video game players are women, everyone will say anywhere from 40% to 49%. So it's in the 40s somewhere is what everyone always says. I think this stat kind of doesn't matter. I think it's a boring stat
I think it's silly.
because it's so definitional on, oh, are we counting everyone who plays mobile games and like PC gamers and console gamers and Switch gamers? And so I think it's much more interesting to look at what percentage of each gender play games and consider themselves gamers is what I think is more interesting because yeah, I would say if we're looking at all the gamers in the world, how many are men, how many are women, it's going to come out a wash.
I think it's just like a fake stat, to be honest. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
it's the
There's no
societal.
way to quantify it.
Well, even if there was, I feel like it's the societal thought of what it is, and
Mm-hmm.
people thinking that it's not quite equal. Like there isn't a 50% of women in it. And that's not true. I firmly believe that's not true. I firmly believe it's a solid 50-50 for, especially going on to Twitch. Like Twitch really was where I was like, oh, there really are all these other, female gamers.
And I think that's interesting because I know that 35% of Twitch users are female.
Only
So,
35%. I don't know if I
mm-hmm,
believe that.
mm-hmm.
That's
That
interesting.
was, yeah,
Do you know when that stat was done?
that stat was according to a website called Backlinko, and it was 2022 numbers.
Interesting. I wonder how accurate that is though, because like think about all the
Yeah.
bot accounts there are and all
Mm-hmm.
of that. It just feels like a wash number.
Yeah. I'd be interested to know active users. Yeah.
Yeah, active users. I could see if maybe there was slightly more male because early days of Twitch was,
Mm-hmm.
more of the FPS competitive kind of esports, not esports, but like that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And not to say women don't play those games and can't be into those games, but having played those games a lot, it is definitely, in my opinion, a very male dominant genre.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I could
I would say
see,
out of all the genres,
yeah,
yeah, FPS games, especially like community games, um, yeah, is very male dominated.
right. So I feel like probably the beginning of Twitch was very much male dominated because of that. And so I could see if, because of that being its origin, maybe it's still being slightly more males. But I still think women's definitely least in the 40% for Twitch.
Yeah.
But yeah, active users would be
Yeah.
super interesting.
Mm-hmm. Because how many of these accounts, yeah, were created in 2011 and haven't been touched since 2015, you know?
Yeah. Or the bot accounts just being like, yeah, I'm whatever to just get it
Mm-hmm.
done and taken care
Mm-hmm.
of.
Yeah, was this a snapshot or were they looking at, what were they looking at for their to build out this stat?
Hmm, hmm.
Yeah. So we were trying to answer the second question, which we were talking about, is the percentage of women who would consider themselves a gamer, as well as the percentage of women who play games, because those two stats are different. And so there was a study by a company called Newzoo where they looked at 1,500 women from the US and UK and 1,500 men in the US and UK. And 75% of women in this study played video games during 2022 of any type. Only 35% of that 75% identified themselves as a gamer. So the vast majority of women played games, and less than half of those people who had played a game identified themselves as a gamer.
Yeah, only a third. That's crazy.
Yeah, which is opposed to 51% of men who had played a video game identified themselves as a gamer. And so I think this goes again into the, are they, what kind of games are they playing? If they are playing phone apps or doing games like Animal Crossing or Stardew Valley, do they consider themselves a gamer? Or if they do consider themselves a gamer, do they think, well, but no one else would consider me a gamer? So
Mhm.
why, what is their definition of gamer, I guess, in that sense?
Yeah. And when we were looking at that, okay, before I say what thought that gave me, I want to talk the other stat we did because I think like it just correlates.
Yeah. So we were looking at this article that was talking about a study that was done by the Entertainment Software Association, the ESA, that was saying that women account for about 48% of video gamers. And that study is what a lot of the articles reference. But when we dug into the data, they only surveyed 4,000 people about gaming tendencies, quote unquote, and 52% of those 4,000 people were male. So I don't know if they put like a call to action being like, hey, do you play video games? Let's do a study on you. So, I mean, the 48% of video gamers is the 48% of women who participated in the survey.
Right.
So I think that's funky.
It is. It's kind of a joke. I think if they'd done it more like the other one where you took 1,500 of each, right? At least you have an
Yeah.
even number. But it's still, I don't know.
Yeah.
But both of those are making me think about this is something I feel like I keep seeing a lot on Twitch and just in the gaming communities I am is, what does it mean to be a gamer? And like, let's be real. If you play games, you're a gamer. That just is what it should be. And that's just what the definition should be. But then you get all these people and they like gatekeep being a
Mm-hmm.
gamer. And so then how we
Mm-hmm.
were talking about how only a third identified as a gamer. Personally, I don't blame them because I mean, I'm a hardcore gamer. And sometimes I still am like, am I a gamer though? Because I play
Mm-hmm.
games like Nancy Drew or Stardew Valley or on
Mm-hmm.
all those, which is so dumb. If you play games, you are a gamer, and I just think it's such a crazy thing in the gaming community that people want to tell you if you are or aren't a gamer. And that's also why I firmly believe it's a 50-50 for, female and male gamers. It's just so many women feel like they can't say they're a gamer or they play
Mm-hmm.
games because of this weird societal concept. And
And they may be in a relationship with somebody who is a gamer that plays a lot of Call of Duty or PUBG or Counter Strike or whatever.
right.
And so them sitting around playing a game on their
Chilling on
phone or on
Animal
their little
Crossing.
Switch or
Yeah.
what, like having a good time.
Mhm.
Maybe they don't have a community of other people who also play games. And so a lot of being a gamer is the social aspect.
Mhm.
And so I think there's just so many pieces in there that if you don't consider what you're doing to be like a video game. You're like, it's an app game or it's a phone game or it's whatever. Like,
It's a
I just
game,
think that
though.
just, I know it
It
counts.
counts. Oh, yeah, and then that led into that other stat we were looking at, too, in that other article. Well, almost three-quarters of women have played video games in the last 6 months. Only a third identify themselves as gamers. Like, that's just as Sweetie would say, or Lauren, that's just bananas.
It
It's
is.
just such bananas.
Personally, I think so. I mean, the number of players and women just in the industry in general, there's definitely a positive trend. Like, women are showing up and they are joining and they are playing. And every article, when you type it in, every single year there was an article that came out that said, women are gaming too. There are more women than ever playing games. Like every single year, like clockwork. It was the funniest thing. And I was just like, yes, guys, we get it. And so the number of developers has also gone up. So they were sitting at, anywhere from 10 to 15% of developers were women, and in 2011 or so. And then at this point, they're sitting around 30%. So it's slow, but it's steady.
Mm-hmm.
It is improvement.
Mm-hmm.
So exciting about that.
To circle back quickly before we move on to developers and stuff, I feel that COVID really helped gaming.
Mm.
It didn't help our gaming
Mm-hmm.
content, but it helped get more people like ingrained to it, not just into it, but like in it. And I think that was huge. Like, I think the gaming community exploded during COVID because everyone had all of this time on their hands to.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think that, I don't know where I was going with that. I just think that was a huge thing for the gaming community. Although content kind of took a hit.
I think it was a huge thing for the gaming community, but I really think it was a huge thing for
When, yeah,
female
yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah,
gamers.
right.
Because again, the Switch, Animal Crossing, like there was so much more community building
Mm-hmm. Yes.
because women all of a sudden were saying, hey, well, I can't see my friends in person anymore.
Yeah.
And not to generalize, but women like to be in person with their friends a lot of the time. I mean, I would say more than men. I think there were lots of avenues, and maybe this is just like my personal life, where my husband plays a lot of games online with his friends who are in other states and other areas. Like they built up that group and that friendship years ago, and for years have been doing online things in their own houses and doing that distant friendship,
Mm-hmm.
but talking all the time. So they had already built up that. And then when COVID hit, I was super unprepared because I was used to being with my friends in person and like texting and whatever, but we didn't spend time interacting online or just like being on Discord. Like most of my friends in my area, we don't hang out on Discord. That's just not what we do. We don't game together. So
Oh.
I just hadn't built up that infrastructure, which I think I've talked about this before, but that's why I started streaming on Twitch, is because I didn't have friends around me that wanted to hang out online necessarily. And so I went looking to find a community that I could hang out with online because what else was I going to do? And luckily I found a great one. So nailed it.
Hashtag nailed it. Ironically, I forced all of my childhood friends into gaming and made them play, like, especially Nancy Drew games with me
Mm-hmm.
and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, my very bestest childhood friend, Danielle, who I've literally known our whole lives. So I still convince her to do stuff. And, like, we do Fortnite and we'll go back and play Mario together and, like, the Crash Bandicoot games and stuff. And she's like,
Yeah.
Gabe, I don't know if I would have been as much into games without you. I'm like, you're welcome. You're
Mm-hmm.
welcome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then, okay, so we talk about the players. We've done that. Let's talk a bit about developers, right? This is all about developers now? The games we
Well,
play, 25 online games that women enjoy.
so I was looking at the games that women have been playing, and then also the games that women have been creating. And I was reading through, kind of just list articles and top games for women and blah, blah, blah. And I don't know if anyone remembers this happening. I don't. But in 2020, there was a Parade, the magazine article that came out titled The Games We Play 25 Online Games That Women Enjoy. And the author said she surveyed game developers, pro gamers, and everyday players to create this list of 25 free online games for women. So, the only reason this is notable is because the E3 official Twitter account tweeted a link to the article and was just like, hey, any games you play make the cut. And so people who considered themselves to be a female gamer went to look at it and they were like, what the heck is this? Because they were all, where there were a lot of phone app games, like including the Kim Kardashian game and Solitaire, Tetris. There was kind of notoriously Bejeweled Classic, where she listed, or she wrote as like the caption for it, "Diamonds are a girl's best friend. Am I right, ladies?" And it was just, it came off as really patronizing. I don't think the person who retweeted it for E3 read the article. I think they just saw the title and were like, cool, somebody made an article listing out games that women like to play.
Oh,
And they retweeted it.
I thought the E3 person was being like sarcastic. I thought that meant that they Oh, okay. I don't know. I guess I didn't take it that way. It seemed like oh, any
If they meant to be a sarcastic, it did not come out that way, and they had to issue an apology
ooh, awkward.
because gamers were not having it.
That's interesting.
And so there was a lot of feedback on that. And E3 did not write the article.
Right. They're just
Somebody just posted a link saying the article was out there and never. Otherwise, I don't think anyone would have seen it. It's in Parade. Who cares?
Can I just
But
say though,
because,
so many women
yeah.
I know actually do play Sudoku, like the Candy Crush kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they do
Mm-hmm.
play all these games. Wait, so I'm confused. So what's the
Yeah.
issue? Why were they upset?
So she had a lot of apps. She also included Animal Crossing, Sims 4, etc. Just Dance. She did include Overwatch on the list, saying women like it since it has a lot of female heroes to portray, giving them the chance to hold their own amidst the boys, and for its fantasy element. And she was saying that online games don't have a gender attached to them, but she was saying that these are some of the games female players tend to gravitate towards. So I wanted to talk about this.
I could see all of that being kind of true though, because I feel
Yeah.
what she said about the Overwatch. Like I love games like that when there's equal
Mm-hmm.
or diverse people that you can play, so you can play someone that you identify as. And I'm sorry, I have to make a side note as we're talking about this. It made me think about all the men I know who play female characters. Like, will you have
Mm-hmm.
the option to be a female or a male and they choose the female?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
One, I think that's so strange. Two, it bothers me a little bit because do you know when I ask guys why they do it, their answer is because I want something nice to look at.
Oh.
And I'm like,
Okay, that's gross.
that's yes. And so it always bothers me a little bit. And I've many men, like not just friends, but like many men have said that answer to me. And they're like, well, why would I want
Hmm.
to be a big stinky guy or like a gross looking guy or blah blah blah. And I'm like,
Fair.
because
For
that's
starters,
what you
fair enough.
are. I just I don't get it. That just
Mm.
made me think about that. Sorry. But yes, I okay, continue.
So I think people's issue with the article is that I don't know if it's necessarily like a this is what the pro gamers play. I think it's maybe what the article writer's girlfriends are playing, that, she's asking her friends, like, hey, what games do you play? And these are some of their answers. So, everyday players. So, there were a lot of people who are like, I'm a gamer, who are like, this isn't tackling any like real games. But then this is going into the whole, are these apps popular? Yes, 1,000%. Somebody who's playing Kim Kardashian, Bejeweled,
It's just so much a gamer as someone playing Overwatch.
is that person not like, are these not very, very popular games? You can look at the app downloads and see how many freaking downloads that all of these apps have. Like, so yes, was the list maybe a little patronizing in how she was just like, oh, girlies, like, is this what we're like? This is so much fun for us. Like, you can do all these sparkly things. So, was it a girly list? Yes. Can girl gamers be super girly and play a whole bunch of super girly games and not play any games like Overwatch, or not play any games like Elden Ring or what? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so I think that's just, it's tackling or it's kind of at the crux of the issues of, so are the women who exclusively play games on this list, are they not gamers?
Right. Yeah. I Yes, I think they're gamers. They're just as much gamers as people playing quote unquote more
Mm-hmm.
hardcore, games.
Yeah.
I I think I slightly agree with her saying that females would tend to gravitate towards games with like no gender attached to them, mainly because
Mm-hmm.
it's better now. It's getting better. But if you think about like gaming and its history, typically main characters and stuff are guys, or there's not
Mm-hmm.
really as much
Mm-hmm.
female representation or options and stuff. So I could totally understand where they would maybe want to have a genderless game. But I think it's also a lot better now than it used to be. I mean, we're getting tons of
Yeah.
yes. Which then okay, so then
Anyway.
we have that other article that's top 15 video games played by women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the parade article came out in 2020.
Okay.
So if I was interested in looking at, like, in 2010, what were women playing back then on kind of more of a public stage.
I feel
And
this
so
is
Forbes,
accurate. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah. So Forbes, a part that I thought was funny is that they mentioned, like I said, all the articles say female gamers are on the rise. And the Forbes article says that trend means more than just Mario and Luigi time with the kids,
What does that
which
even
I was like,
mean?
oh, Lord. That just, you're not just playing games with your kids anymore, ladies. You're playing with yourself.
I play
Um,
with myself every night. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Bejeweled. I love that that's on. I think you said that in the other one too. Bejeweled's both of
mm-hmm,
them. Love
mm-hmm,
that.
mm-hmm. Everyone's
Farmville.
playing Bejeweled.
I remember the obsession of that.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't that a Facebook game?
It
I
was.
knew.
Allegedly still is, because I also was looking at a 2022 list from the UK that Farmville was still on that. And I was like,
What?
who? Okay, I guess it's all, boomer parents who are still on Facebook playing Farmville. Are the boomer parents playing Farmville not gamers?
You say that, and the only reason I know about Farmville is because when I was in robotics, the boomer parent would play it on her computer in the kitchen. And I was like, what is that? That's the only reason I know what Farmville is. That's so funny. Final Fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
Never got into it, but yeah. I have no idea what Flower is.
Flower is like, it's a really pretty game. Did they make a board game out of it? I don't remember, but it's just a really beautiful, like, visual
Mm.
artsy game.
Mm. Okay, got you. Mass Effect 2,
Um,
solid.
mhm.
Portal.
Portal,
I love that game so much. Portal and Portal 2. Sims 3. I feel like The Sims kind of makes sense, that being a more.
Sims, Animal Crossing, those two are always like at the top because women like building and interacting with cute creatures. I
I
would
love
say
that
those
you just
are,
generalized all women, sweetie.
I know.
But hear
I
me
don't think
out.
I'm wrong.
That's okay. I
I
love
don't
that.
think I'm wrong. I don't think it's exclusive, but I'm saying that a lot of women
Hmm.
enjoy that creation and connection piece.
I wonder
I'm just saying.
if it's just kind of how our brains develop and stuff, and just
Mm-hmm.
what part of the brain each gender kind of is more likely to activate, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think it also is, I like to think about why people play games
Right.
because, you know, what drives you to want to play a game? What drives you to want to play a game like Nancy Drew, and you want to do puzzles and you want to do some, you know, story work as opposed to Minecraft, as opposed to Call of Duty? You know, what kind of inspires us all to move into different directions on different days or
Yeah. Yeah.
different moods?
Sing Star, because we all have to karaoke with our
Hmm.
ladies. All right, let's be honest.
We sure do.
How many sleepovers did you karaoke at? The answer is every single one of them. And you cannot tell me otherwise.
I have not. I don't think I've karaokeed since high school.
Okay, okay, but I don't mean like, I'm using the term karaoke loosely in the sense that you all have a rock out moment and sing together.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's
Mm-hmm.
what I
Mm-hmm.
mean. Again,
Yes.
tell me
Yes.
I'm wrong. I love that Wii Sports is on the list because I was definitely playing Wii Sports in 2010.
Mm-hmm.
World
I
of,
was playing Wii Sports and Halo.
and Halo. I love that for you. World of Warcraft. Obsessed with World of Warcraft. I love that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Zuma Pego Brain Age. I don't recognize those puzzle games. I'm gonna be honest.
They're, yeah. I don't know. They're, some of them are puzzles. Some of them are just like educational
Hmm.
kind of games.
All right, and the fact that Nancy Drew's on here, honestly, I feel like Nancy Drew climaxed in 2010. Like I feel like,
1,000%. I mean, they were putting out 2 games a year for
and they
like
were
5 years in a
and
row.
they were actually like quality games
Mm-hmm.
too. They weren't Salem. I'm sorry.
Hurtful.
I know. They're just, yeah. That was, I feel like, some of peak Nancy Drew. Like Nancy Drew, the company, her interactive was just, they were there.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like
Mm-hmm.
they've lost it some now, and it makes me sad. I hope they can get back there. Anyways, besides the point. And then we have the next article that you found, and I love this so much. It was a list of trends seen in female players in 2022, and the slots in poker were gamblers, baby.
Slots and poker. So this is UK only.
Okay.
So I don't know what they're doing over there, but slots and poker. I do know what they're doing over there. It's slots and
Yeah,
poker.
I was gonna say.
Sims, Farmville, still as we mentioned, and then Prince of Persia, which I thought was,
Okay, but is that like the movie Prince of Persia, or is this a whole other thing? That's what I was trying to. Sorry.
oh, it's. I mean, it's a
Was it
game.
related to the movie?
I mean, there was a whole series about it. And I think the movie was based on the games.
Oh, is that how it went?
I'm 80% sure. Because, yeah, Prince of Persia came out in 89. And then there was a second that came out in 93. And then there was a 3D one,
Oh.
which is the first installment to use 3D computer graphics that came out in 99. And then they did some more in like 2003, 2004, 2010, and then there was a film adaptation
Okay.
that came out in 2010.
Right. Yeah. With Jake
And there was a
Gyllenhaal.
Lego Prince of Persia toy line.
Got you. Okay.
Ubisoft bought
Booby.
it. And the Assassin's Creed franchise is considered to be the spiritual successor to the series.
Ah.
So if they were saying Assassin's Creed was a high trend in female players, I'd be like, yeah, I get it.
I
It's
get
puzzles,
it.
it's movement, there's storyline, there's romance. Like,
We get
I'm
to
here for it.
hardcore parkour.
So then we're getting a bit more modern.
Yes.
Yeah. So Glamour Magazine UK. I don't know why a lot of this is from the UK, but it is. I think there are some really strong like women in gaming communities and groups over there that I think is what's building up their bigger interest in talking about it and having articles on it. But so they made a list of best games made by women that does include games that have come out since 2010. So it wasn't saying like of that year, but it's somewhat recent. So they include Tomb Raider, Sims 4, Animal Crossing, and then there were some indie games that I wanted to call out.
Wait, hold on. I was so embarrassed to not know that Tomb Raider was made by women or like a women-led team.
The last two Tomb Raiders, yes.
Oh. Well, we're talking the trilogy, right? We're talking about the newest trilogy of Tomb Raider.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, I didn't know that. Yes.
Yeah, so we'll talk about the woman who is very key on that, Rihanna Pratchett. Rihanna Pratchett.
It is Rihanna.
We'll talk about her in a second.
Regardless.
Rihanna.
I think it's Rihanna.
Yeah.
It has an H in it.
Okay. She's British, so I don't know if that helps or hurts my cause. So on this list of best games, there's a VR game called Earthlight Spacewalk that
Spacework.
is Spacework?
Yeah, that's what it's written.
Thank you.
Sorry.
You do a spacewalk in VR. In my defense.
That's good.
So you play as a female astronaut, and again, it's in VR, so you're basically walking along and in a working on not a rocket.
A rocket ship?
No.
It was also a collaboration with NASA, which is super duper cool.
Okay, I lied. I typed in spacework, but it is actually spacewalk.
Oh, it is spacewalk. Okay, you got it.
It's Australian, and the studio Opaque Space won Australian Studio of the Year. And this is the most realistic depiction of a spacewalk on the International Space Station.
That's crazy.
It was the winner of the Australia's Game of the Year in 2017 when it came out. And it lets players experience human spaceflight through the eyes of Anna, one of NASA's brightest astronauts, on a repair mission hundreds of kilometers above Earth.
Dude, is this on
and
Steam?
I'm not sure. Probably.
I'm looking. Continue.
Hopefully.
I have to know.
But it just looked so cool, so interesting. You know, it's a female-led team. It was produced by Danielle Hindi, and there was a game design lead, Jennifer Shurl, who were, you know, the key members here on creating it. And you play a female astronaut. And again, they were working with NASA to really, really focus on women in space. And NASA has a lot of goals on getting more female astronauts up and going and up in space.
That's so cool.
So I was really excited seeing that. Another game on the list that I wanted to talk about was Gravity Ghost. And this is from Ivy Games. And as a player, you control a young girl's ghost. And again, there's a lot of space going on. I don't know why. And it explores a shattered galaxy, and you rescue survivors from this galaxy. And so the developer, Erin Robinson Swink, was named as one of the most influential women in technology by Fast Company. And I was reading some interviews with her. She's very funny. But she was in an article with Engadget She was saying she can usually tell if someone has played until the end of the game based on the way they say it to her. So if they're like, "Yeah, I played your game," or if "I played your game," and then they look off into the distance, okay, that person played to the end. So Gravity Ghost, some other interviews that I saw, it's a game about personal growth, family, and discovering the strength to continue living, even when that seems impossible. And people have told her that it helps them deal with loss playing through the game.
Mm.
She was saying that even the top Steam reviews about that from a guy she doesn't even know who just bought the game, he talked about how it helped him deal with the death of a loved one. He didn't expect that from playing this little indie game. I was like, God, that is super humbling. If her name, Erin Robinson, sounds at all familiar, she did the art for like a little unknown point and click game called Blackwell Unbound, which was her first paying gig in video games. And I've played that game and it is very good. And I was very excited when I realized who she was and what she had worked on.
It's on my wish list. I've been really wanting to play it, but haven't got a chance to it. That's awesome. I didn't know that. That's so cool. The more you know.
And then there was another game called Niche, which I think is a bit more uh, talked about, and it's described as Pokemon Go meets Tamagotchi,
I
where
love
you're evolving
Tamagotchis.
creatures and you start with real animals and then you use genetics to kind of create something new, fun, try to keep them alive, try not to let the species go extinct. And this was designed by a Swiss designer named Philomena Schwab. And then she went on to found a company called Playful Oasis, your source for games about nature. So it's a company that really highlights and works with games that are specifically about nature and animals, flora and fauna, etc., which I love.
When you when you brought up the niche game, I had no idea what you were talking about. I just looked it up on Steam, and apparently it's in
Mhm.
my library. Awkward. I,
Great. Well, you're gonna have to tell us how it went, how it
I
goes. You have to try it out now.
I do. That's so funny.
The last one on the list I wanted to talk about is called Butterfly Soup, and it's an app game on Android and iOS. And it's a visual novel following four young queer Asian American girls in their first year of high school. And so there's some interactive choices in the narrative. And it was named the best visual novel of 2017 by PC Gamer. And the creator, Brianna Lee, who also made Butterfly Soup 2, it came out a few years later, was named on Forbes 30 Under 30 list for games. So, very exciting for her. So, the ladies are creating really exciting new indie games, again, focusing a lot on kind of connection and there's a lot of science and connection with nature as well, which is exciting. We wanted to highlight a few big names in the industry. So, Rihanna Pratchett, we already mentioned her, and she is one of truly the most famous female games writer and narrative designers. She's British, and she is the daughter of Sir Terry Pratchett, just to deal with that elephant in the room. I know that is something that articles that have been written about her or interviews with her, I've noticed several of them which had to change bylines because the bylines would say something on like Sir Terry Pratchett's daughter does this and such, and people would be like, she's her own person, leave her alone. So I have to acknowledge it, but then we'll move on. So she graduated with a journalism degree and started working at a women's magazine, and they were a little more flexible when she first started working. So the first year that she was there, she kind of bullied them into letting her write about comics and video games. And if she hadn't had that kind of first step in the door into video games, her
Yeah.
career, the way that it turned out, would never have happened the way that it, like, she probably would have gotten into writing in some other way, but because she could start and move into this like video game journalism, um, that really allowed her to continue on, and start looking for more roles that are going to write more about video games and get further into the industry, and then moved on to helping create games. So, Beyond Divinity was one of the first games she actually worked on, where she was helping to polish the script, and then she wrote an accompanying novella to flesh out the game. From there, she did some game writing for. She liked doing kind of role playing, story heavy games,
RPG.
and she did, yeah, where she worked on Heavenly Sword and was nominated for a BAFTA for that. And then she worked on Overlord, where she won Best Video Game Script.
What's a BAFTA?
British Academy Film Awards.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, so it's um, the British equivalent of the Oscars.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about her because we were talking about Tomb Raider. So she was the lead writer for the 2013 Tomb Raider and then the 2015 Rise of the Tomb Raider. And I saw this quote that was joking about the producer, who I believe was a woman as well, went looking and was laughing because she found a girl with daddy issues to write about a girl with daddy issues because Rihanna has been under her father's shadow and been, and he's been ill. And so there's just, and Lara Croft is similarly, where her father is a really famous archaeologist. And so she's trying to create her own path while still dealing with, Lara Croft's dad disappears, and her mother passes away, and so she's dealing with all of this trauma, but she is trying to find her own path and explore her own world instead of just being known for her father.
The hard thing about that is that he's like gone and I think presumably dead. And that's just like, I think even harder of something to try and live up to. You know what I mean? Because it's not
Lara Croft's dad.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. just so we're clear.
Yeah, not Rihanna's, Lara Croft's, because I feel like you can idolize and make someone more of a hero when they're not there to show you otherwise. So I feel like that would just be so. It doesn't matter. We're talking about Rihanna, not Laura. I'm sorry.
Well, but I wanted to talk about Rise of the Tomb Raider,
right,
because I wanted to talk about Rihanna's take on Lara Croft.
Mm-hmm.
She was in an interview, she was talking about, how in the movies she's a bit of an ice queen where nothing moves her, nothing touches her. She has a lot of money, so she's just kind of throwing money around and crashing planes into mountains and being a total badass, but very much being detached.
Yeah.
So she was talking about that they took what people think of as Lara Croft, her traits like bravery, resourcefulness, resilience, independence, strength, and they rewound the traits until they were just below the surface. Rise of the Tomb Raider, Lara is young. She's a late teenager, so she's definitely doing a lot of growing up, and part of the story is her finding out or figuring out that she's been just running away so that she doesn't have to deal with like her trauma and her pain. And so it's her kind of coming to terms with that and being brave enough to face that.
That's powerful.
Rihanna was saying you don't want to just pop out being a badass. Like, that doesn't just happen. And so, especially with Rise, and she has all of these traits, but she's young and she's still dealing with so many things. So, those traits can't really come out to play. There's no bravery without fear, is what Rihanna was saying. And they wanted to show where her bravery came from and how it evolved.
That's deep. That's powerful.
Yeah.
This is true.
And Rise of the Tomb Raider won Outstanding Achievement in Video Game Writing and Outstanding Achievement in Character for Lara Croft's character at the 68th Writers Guild of America Awards in 2016. I loved that story and kind of the thought behind it.
Yeah.
And so as Rihanna stayed involved with Tomb Raider, she wrote a comic, Tomb Raider: The Beginning, and then that kind of got her into some other comic work where she worked with DC Comics to write the Mirror's Edge comic miniseries.
Is this why she didn't she wasn't a part of writing the third one because she got into all these other projects?
I don't know why she didn't write the third one.
Okay, that's okay.
So I couldn't tell you. She might have moved on into other projects by the time that really started going.
Hmm.
She won the European Women in Games Hall of Fame Award in 2013, where they said that she's a scriptwriter and narrative designer. She's best known for her work on Heavenly Sword, Mirror's Edge, and more recently Tomb Raider. Her characterization of in game females as fun rather than cliched has helped set the new benchmark for the industry.
I think Tomb Raider was huge for female
Mm-hmm.
characters in games, and it showed. I don't know how to put this in that like Lara Croft wasn't ditzy. She wasn't an airhead.
Mm-hmm.
Like they said, she
Mm-hmm.
wasn't an ice queen. So I feel like these are the tropes that female characters end up being. She was real. I felt like they did really good at making her real and more relatable. And like you were saying,
Mm-hmm.
like you're not just immediately a badass. And like as fun as it is to live out your badass life in, video games, I liked that in the Tomb Raider. Like you didn't start out being that way. You were literally naked and afraid at first. and then
Yeah.
and then slowly being like, you know what? I'm a bad bitch.
Mm-hmm.
Surgeon Simulator.
I know. So my chat recently had me play Surgeon Simulator 1. Um, Turns out Rihanna was a writer for Surgeon Simulator 2. So now apparently I'm going to have to go and play that and find out what went on and what she contributed to that, because I'm very curious, because it's quite a game.
I'm not freaked out. You're freaked out. I just don't. Sorry. We have all these other women developers to go through, but we were discussing that maybe we'll be highlighting them like one female developer in every episode because there's so many great female developers to talk about and truly too many to talk
Mm-hmm.
about in one episode, especially when we had all this other stuff we want to cover. So, not to worry. We will get to them. If you have games that were developed or led by women that you want us to check out and talk about, or women in the industry that we should spotlight on a future episode, let us know on our Twitter at nosidequests or email us at nosidequests@gmail.com. And Lauren has a nice end speech to tell us. That's really heartfelt.
I After a lot of my research, and I was going through all of these developers and going through a lot of these games that were recently coming out and looking at the games that women are spending their time playing. Like I was saying earlier, at the end of the day, some women, this would make more sense if we had talked about all the developers, because there was one developer.
No, it still makes sense though because it makes sense for the players, okay? This is true. Some women like creating and playing games that help us connect with ourselves to
Mm-hmm.
those around us, cope with loss and find
Mm-hmm.
peace. But this is true. Others want to smash things. I sometimes need to smash things, okay? And then put them back together, and that's okay. And I'm definitely, like you said, many others switch between the two, depending on whether it's, oh God, a white wine sangria or tequila soda type of night.
I'm just saying that because I had one of each this weekend.
Oh,
So they're topical for me. When I was looking through a bunch of quotes by the developers I was looking into, one, Kim Swift, who did a lot of work on Portal, led the charge on Portal, really. She was saying, I work on toys. She like rejects the art label for games, saying, I work on toys, don't take that away from me. I like that I make toys. Versus, a variety of other designers and developers who are saying, hey, I want to create art and create and build connections. So, unsurprisingly, there's a wide variety of creators in the industry, just like there are a wide variety of gamers.
I feel like if you think about it, video games are an art. Like, even though I understand she's calling them toys, and
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
even as toys, it's an art because there's so much impact they have. There's so much you can do with them. I mean, I'm not
Mhm.
gonna cry. You're gonna cry. I have to stop. I have to stop. I'm too emotional today. But they just they can touch you. They can help you get through a hard time, or like that one guy said, maybe it helps you process
Mhm.
something you weren't able to process before, or it
Right.
helps you live out a life you always wanted to live but you can't because, we can't all be ninjas or CIA agents or, but you get to live it out and experience it and feel it.
Or maybe you just want to play Bejeweled and
Exactly.
stop thinking for 20 minutes while you're pressing the pretty diamond shapes.
Yeah.
It depends on why you want to be gaming. Are you
Mhm.
trying to release anger? Are you trying to turn your brain off? Are you trying to, explore something? You want to have music on? Because it can be like reading a book. Like you choose to read different books for different reasons. It's the same with games.
Yeah, and the making of games too. I think our next episode is going to be maybe about the upcoming games for
Mm-hmm.
2023,
Mm-hmm.
or it might be a surprise. Who knows, okay? We don't know.
Truly, who knows?
You don't know. And that's fine. You can you go ahead and laugh about it, but we're a mystery. Okay? We're Nancy Drew, except we're the mystery Nancy Drew's
Mm.
trying to solve, and she's never going to solve it. Yeah, Lauren's
Mm-hmm.
like, "Yep, yep." You know what? That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Gabe, and you know what? You can find me at nenyaadamas on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Instagram. And you can find Lauren at sweetie_patat on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. She has her first ever YouTube video. Go, I don't know, do the things. Sub, like, comment, leave. I'm just kidding. I don't know. That's all. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you have a good one. Bye.